Listen up, get ready, I'm not gonna take no more. There's a revolution, a revelation going on in my soul. Buckle up, get ready, we're not gonna sit back.
Citizens of the world, welcome back to Live from the Heartland for the week of July 10th. And I'm now going to bring on our first guest to join with Euan Hague, who is our soccer expert in-house here. And our next guest is Dan Shalin, is a local sports writer. He's worked with Pioneer Press. He's covered soccer for Reuters, etc. He has written about international soccer for over 25 years. Worked with Euan, our co-host today, on WBEZ's World Cup coverage, 2006 to 2018. And he has a book in the works about the heyday of DePaul basketball. Good to have you on the show, Dan.
Good to be here.
Yeah, thanks for joining us this morning, Dan. I wanted to catch up with you and talk some World Cup soccer. It's been a big story here in the United States. What has your thoughts been on the World Cup so far?
Right, good day to talk because it's, I guess, the first day off of games in many weeks. So we can take a little pause and reflect. Yeah, I mean, it's been really good, right? I mean, the games have been really exciting. The stadiums have been full. They've looked good. The cities in the U.S. and Canada have presented themselves well to the world. The fans from abroad have come here and seemingly enjoyed themselves. You know, there've been great stories with you and your lot, the Scottish in Boston drinking the city dry, and the Norwegians at the Mets game in New York. I was just in Vancouver, and there were Algerian fans everywhere, adding a lot to the atmosphere, a lot to the city. The World Cup was pretty much Donald Trump free until it wasn't. So the host nations all got through the groups, which was good. Anytime the host nations are, as we know, anytime they do well, it's better for the tournament. U.S., there was some question about how they would do. They started really well against Paraguay and played well against Australia. Excitement grew. Watch parties. I was at one the other night with seemingly thousands of people in the suburbs in Evanston, and unfortunately, there were some issues surrounding that game that we'll talk about. And then during the game, obviously the U.S. struggled, kind of laid an egg, and there's been fallout from that, but it shouldn't matter as far as whether the tournament's a success or whether you are if you become a soccer fan, if you were out at a watch party the other night in a crowd of many people on a beautiful night watching soccer, whether the U.S. played well or not, I think you're a soccer fan. Stick with it. If there are people new to the game. And honestly, I think the game's at a place. Some people are saying, well, that was such a great opportunity. It was a great opportunity for the U.S. to progress to a quarterfinal for the second time. Obviously, one of the few times they get to do it on home soil. It was a missed opportunity for the team, for the sport to some extent, but I think the sport is pretty healthy. You go to these watch parties, and this isn't the first time a lot of people there are watching soccer. Some of them, you see jerseys, you see kids who are on soccer teams. They know the players. So, we've made a lot of progress as far as the sport in the United States in recent years. So, that whether we've made progress on the field, that's to be debated, but the sport is very healthy. And I think that's
Yeah, I would say that's the men's team. Of course, there's a chance to have watch parties and support the U.S. women's team next summer in the Women's World Cup. So,
of course,
we're just talking primarily about the men's team. Of course, one thing you mentioned there was that the World Cup was Trump-free until this week. And there was some controversy about Trump's intervention. I mean, and it got the world's attention. And could you tell us a little bit about what happened and what the reaction was?
Sure. Folarin Balogun, the U.S. striker, who is a good player. He is the U.S. top scorer in the tournament. He's their starting striker. I wouldn't say he's world class, but he's the best we got up top. Received a red card against Bosnia that was definitely very questionable. I mean, I would say yellow card at most. Red card meant they played a man down for the rest of the game, and he was suspended for the next game, the round of 16 game against
Belgium.
Against Belgium. And now there may or may not have been an appeal process in place. It's debatable. There should be, definitely. Certainly that appeal process should not include the president of the United States calling up the head of FIFA and demanding that Balogun be reinstated for the game. I think there was even some question. Somebody mentioned that now they played a man down in the game that he got sent off. There's some question about whether Trump even knew the rules, that he was thinking maybe they were a man down for the next round against Belgium. So,
which wouldn't have been the case, right? He'd have been replaced by a different player.
Wouldn't have been. He would have been suspended, but they would have been back to full strength. So, lo and behold, Trump makes a call to Gianni Infantino, his buddy, who had presented him with the coveted FIFA Peace Prize a few months earlier.
The first.
And, yeah, amazing how that happened. And suddenly, we wake up, was it Monday morning, and find out that maybe it was Sunday, the day before the game, that Balogun has been reinstated. And of course, cue the international incident, and obviously with good reason. I mean,
this was this was unprecedented, right? Every other player ejected, even in this tournament, has missed the next game.
Has been forced to miss the next game. I guess something had happened in 1962 with Garrincha in Brazil, but since then, you get suspended. You get sent off. You're suspended the next game, and you give Balogun credit because he accepted it. He didn't agree with it, but he accepted it. The U.S. team accepted it. They were moving on. They were preparing to play without him, and then they find out that he's reinstated magically. And obviously, that's an international incident because, for obvious reasons, I mean, Trump intervenes, and then FIFA. And you knew Trump was going to find a way to get into the World Cup somehow. Here was his chance. I think obviously the blame goes with him, but a lot of blame goes with him for a lot of things. But FIFA here at this point, they have to realize the way this looked. The optics were bad. That you're allowing the host country to basically bully you into IBU or whatever, but to reinstate their player. FIFA should have put their foot down and said, no, that this isn't happening. So there was a lot of noise around the game, a lot more than even was initially going to happen. And yes, the U.S. did have Balogun back, but what I think also happened is that it really galvanized the Belgian team. That was a team that had struggled throughout the tournament. They had a good performance just at the end of the game against Senegal and had a comeback, and but otherwise had not played very well. And if they were looking for something to sort of spark them, here it was, this sense of injustice. And as somebody pointed out, I thought it was interesting, a sense of injustice is something that can really inspire a team. And that's something that, whether it exists or not, I think coaches often in the locker room are trying to create. And here the U.S. had that with Balogun being suspended. They go in with kind of an us against the world injustice, feeling aggrieved that this had happened. And then suddenly Balogun's back and Belgium has that advantage. Suddenly they have something to play for, right? And clearly they were motivated by this because, obviously they came out and really outplayed the U.S. The U.S. was poor, as we said. Belgium was on the front foot right from the beginning. And you could tell when their striker, Romelu Lukaku, scored a goal late, he did the Donald Trump dance. In the locker room, they were playing the YMCA. Clearly this was something that motivated Belgium. I don't know how much it affected the U.S. That might be a step to say, that might be a bit of a reach to say they were really affected by it. Balogun didn't play particularly well. The team didn't play well. I think there might be other reasons for that, but one of the reasons was how well Belgium played, and I think they were motivated by this decision. And it's a decision that you would think Infantino, the head of FIFA, would realize has ramifications, because everybody knows FIFA, the world governing body of soccer, is corrupt as far as money and influence. But you get a sense that the games are legit, right? And even though there are a lot of refereeing mistakes, those seem like just mistakes, not necessarily like that there's something else at work, that FIFA is trying to alter the results in any way. But yesterday, and we mentioned this, the Argentina-Egypt game, there were a couple calls that went against Egypt. And after what transpired earlier in the week, you can't blame the Egyptians for questioning not just the referee on the field, but what other influence he may have had from above. And the other interesting point that was made in the whole Balogun saga is that Balogun is the only reason he's playing for the United States is because of birthright citizenship, right? So here was Trump fighting for a guy to get him back on the field. And he's the same kind of person who Trump is working day and night to try and strip of citizenship. And people like him, right? Balogun's, he's Nigerian. He's of Nigerian descent. His parents lived in London. They came over in, I guess it was 2001 to visit some relatives in New York. His mother was pregnant. She went to board a flight back to London. The airlines deemed she was too pregnant. She had to stay, and she had the baby, Flo Balogun, in Brooklyn, I think. And therefore, he is an American citizen. He moved back to London. He grew up in the British English soccer system, came up with Arsenal. He plays in Monaco, in France, or in the French league. But because of birthright citizenship, he is an American and is available for the American team.
Let me jump in and ask, can you share with our listeners and viewers anything on the meeting between Balogun and the Belgian coach?
Right. He met with Rudy Garcia, the Belgian coach. They may have a history. I mean, Rudy Garcia is French, so they may have a history with Balogun in the French league. And, I did feel kind of sorry for Balogun because he is a high profile player. He's a public figure, but I'm not sure he anticipated being maybe the most talked about person on the planet for a 24-hour news cycle. So that was a lot on him, and I think what Garcia was saying to Balogun was that, while this situation we disagree with, and we've used this to motivate our team, certainly you have been caught in the middle of this. You don't have really anything to do with it. You handled it with class, and I think he was just telling him that this is between us and the United States, us and FIFA, us and Donald Trump, not between us and Flo Balogun.
Yeah, because I know the Belgian soccer authorities complained, and their appeal was dismissed, and UEFA, the European soccer authorities, have complained. So there was definitely a sense of everyone felt the US was getting special treatment here, and I think that has left a bit of a bad taste.
Definitely. And again, they were definitely getting special treatment. And what would stop, from France had one of their star players, Michael Olise, incorrectly booked against Paraguay. There's talk about them appealing. He wasn't suspended. He didn't get a red card, but a yellow card. England had Jarrell Quansah sent off against Mexico. What's to stop them? What's to stop lawyers and politicians, and you, and as I think you said, your father said, even royalty from getting involved to try and appeal this. If it worked for Trump, why wouldn't it work for somebody else? Why wouldn't we try? So it's a slippery slope. It's the Pandora's box. It's it's unfortunate that we have to go down this road. It wasn't even that, again, Balogun, as we said, important player for the U.S. He's not Lionel Messi, who's been great in this tournament, by the way. I think the U.S. could have gotten on without him, and not given the advantage to the Belgians, not given the extra motivation to the Belgians if somebody had just kind of kept himself out of the process.
You mentioned that you were in Vancouver in Canada to watch Algeria against Switzerland, with Switzerland won. But what was the view of the tournament from Canada?
Very, very exciting. I mean, I think they've finished. Yesterday was the last game in Canada, which was Switzerland beating Colombia to move to the final 8, and just kind of the postmortem from Canada. It was Vancouver and Toronto hosted. People who visited Canada really felt they did a great job hosting. People inside Canada were very excited. It's not per se a soccer nation, right? I mean, hockey is the number one sport, but the Canadian team had success under an American coach, Jesse Marsh, former player for the Chicago Fire. Unfortunately, the Canadians lost to the Swiss in the group at the end of the group stage. So they had to, the game that I went to, I was hoping it would be Canada, because it would have just been very exciting to be part of that. They had to actually play their round of 32 game in Los Angeles, but still the party was going on in Vancouver. There were watch parties. I went to 3 different watch parties as far as big outdoor events where they were showing the games. There were the Canadian players were in advertisements all over the city. Just a lot of branding. I was in Seattle as well. And again, it was kind of all about the World Cup in those cities. And it made you feel a little bad that in our own city of Chicago that we didn't have it. I certainly, Rahm Emanuel did a piece at the beginning of the tournament explaining why he had sort of rejected the tournament a couple years ago, looking ahead to it. And he made some really good points. But it would be nice, again, to see that excitement going on right here at home, to have the international visitors, to have some people, while Chicago doesn't necessarily need that to be an international city, people coming over from other countries and kind of experience what we know about our city. That's exciting stuff. So it was fun to see that in Vancouver and Seattle.
Great. So, Dan Shalin, thanks for your thoughts.
Definitely, yes.
All
Thank
right.
you very much.
Everybody.